I never meant to cheat on my husband. I swear I didn't walk into that office planning to betray him. But somehow, one bad decision spiraled into a moment I can never take back. And the worst part? He walked in, right in the middle of it. It began with glances. Cynthia Jacobs had worked at the marketing firm for 4 years. At 32, she was sharp, composed, and known for delivering results on impossible deadlines. Her boss, Daniel Price, was equally driven. Tall, confident, commanding, he had a way of walking into a room and taking ownership of its silence. At first, it was professional, respectful, but the line between approval and something else blurred slowly. He lingered when he spoke to her. He complimented her ideas more than necessary. Their private meetings stretched longer than they should have. Cynthia noticed. She wasn't blind, and on some level, it thrilled her. At home, her marriage to Jordan had grown quiet, predictable, functional. But with Daniel, there was energy. There was attention. There was danger. She told herself nothing was happening. She was just flattered. It was harmless. Until the evening, she stayed late for a project review. The office was quiet, just the two of them under pale fluorescent lights. They stood close over her screen. She felt the heat from his arm. And when he brushed past her chair to reach a file, his hand lingered on her back, just a second too long. She didn't stop him. That was the moment. The first wrong step on a staircase that had only one direction. It wasn't immediate. They went back to normal. She avoided eye contact for a few days. He didn't push. But the tension didn't fade. It simmered. A few days later, Daniel sent her an article link late at night. Something about marketing trends. But the message underneath was clear. He was thinking of her. And she replied. From there, it snowballed. Flirty texts. Inside jokes. Lingering handshakes. Late-night calls under the guise of brainstorming. There was no physical boundary crossed yet, but emotionally, they were long past the line. Cynthia's guilt flickered like a pilot light, never fully extinguished. But Daniel made her feel alive. Wanted. Like she was more than a wife, more than a worker. Until she realized she was spinning a thread that couldn't hold forever. Jordan was a good man. Dependable. Steady. The kind of man who made coffee every morning, folded laundry without being asked, and kissed her forehead before leaving for work. But over time, their marriage had faded into routine. Conversations felt scripted. Passion had dissolved into schedules. Their intimacy, once vibrant, had gone cold. Cynthia tried. She did. She suggested date nights. He nodded, distracted by emails. She asked him how he felt lately. He shrugged. I'm tired. CY and work's been hell. There were no fights. No cheating. No screaming matches. Just distance. She started keeping things from him. Little things. How late she really stayed. What Daniel said about her presentation. The smile he gave her that made her feel 20 again. Cynthia knew it wasn't right. But she felt invisible at home and seen at work. With Daniel, she felt wanted. Still, she told herself there were lines she wouldn't cross. She was wrong. She and Jordan hadn't been intimate in nearly 5 months. He always had an excuse. Stress, work, headaches. She began to resent his distance. How could he not see her drifting? Or worse, did he see it and just not care? She began imagining what life might be like if she left. If she was with someone like Daniel, who saw her fire, her ambition, her complexity. And that fantasy began to feel less like a daydream and more like a plan. It was raining that day. Cynthia hadn't planned to go into the office. It was a Saturday. But Daniel had texted. Quick brainstorm? Just 30 minutes. Big pitch Monday. She hesitated. But she went. She told Jordan she had to help a client. He nodded without looking up from his laptop. The office was empty. Quiet. The city outside wrapped in gray. Daniel met her at the door with 2 coffees. He smiled. She smiled back. Neither of them said what they were both thinking. They didn't get much work done. He moved closer with every word. She laughed too loudly. He touched her wrist and didn't let go. I think about you, he said. More than I should. She should have stood up. She should have left. Instead, she kissed him. What followed was messy. A storm of passion, guilt, heat, and something that felt like hunger. Desperate and reckless. They didn't hear the door. They didn't hear Jordan's footsteps. They only heard his voice, broken and low. Cynthia. Tom stopped. Cynthia froze in Daniel's arms, her blouse half-buttoned, her face flushed with realization. Jordan stood there, his mouth slightly open, his eyes dark with disbelief. The silence was worse than shouting. He turned and walked away. She called after him, half naked, tripping over guilt and regret. But he didn't stop. The elevator doors closed before she reached them. And Daniel? He adjusted his collar and muttered, "I'm sorry." Sorry meant nothing. Cynthia didn't sleep that night. She called Jordan. He didn't answer. She sent messages, long, aching paragraphs. No reply. When she got home the next day, his closet was half empty. His toothbrush was gone. The picture frame on his side of the bed had been turned face down. She sat on the floor and cried until her throat burned. At work, things were worse. Daniel pretended nothing had happened. He made jokes in meetings. But the way he avoided her eyes told a different story. She couldn't bear it. So she quit. Friends asked what happened. She lied. Said she was burned out, looking for new opportunities. But the truth clung to her skin like a second shadow. The weeks dragged. Then months. She tried therapy, journaling, church. None of it helped until she stopped trying to fix the story and started owning it. She cheated. She hurt the man who loved her. She didn't deserve forgiveness, but she wanted redemption. So she wrote a letter. Not to win him back. Just to speak the truth. She told him everything. The loneliness. The guilt. The regret. How she never stopped loving him, even when she forgot how to show it. She didn't expect a reply. But a month later, she got one. It was short. "I'm not ready to talk. But I'm listening." That was all. But it was something. A few weeks later, they met at a small cafe. It was quiet. No declarations. No accusations. Just two people sharing tea, space, and silence. He looked tired. Older. So did she. But when their eyes met, something passed between them. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. Cynthia would spend the next year rebuilding herself, not for him, but for the woman she wanted to be again. Jordan didn't move back. Not right away. But sometimes, healing doesn't look like a movie ending. Sometimes it looks like a second chance. They talked again. More often. A walk here. A phone call there. He met her parents for dinner one Sunday. She helped him pack for a business trip. Their laughter slowly returned. One evening, as they stood in her doorway, he held her hand. "You broke my heart," he said. "But I can still see the woman I fell in love with." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm trying to be her again." He didn't answer. He just pulled her into a quiet embrace. And sometimes, that's the start of something real. If you felt this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional true stories like this. Drop a comment. Do you believe in second chances after betrayal? Could you forgive what Cynthia did, or walk away like Jordan did?